Hello fellow creators, welcome back to City Gay. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to draft the pattern for this cow sleeve as well as sew it from scratch. So as you can see, it's a cow sleeve but it's also having this gather effect, which is really cool. So you can also make it like this if you are looking for the dramatic vibe. So if you like what you see and you're interested in making this for yourself, then make sure you keep on watching. So the first thing to do is to get your pattern paper and fold it into two like so, and then you want to get the top that you want to add the sleeve to, and we're going to be working with where the shoulder is there like so. Okay, so you want to align the shoulder with the fold on the pattern and place it properly to make sure that everything is laying flat, and then get your marker and just mark where the shoulder ends there. And then for the armhole part there, the side seam part, you want to stretch it just a little bit so that it would be able to accommodate the curve that we have of the armhole at the side seam there like so. So just stretch it out a bit and just make the markings. And once you make the markings, just join the two markings together with this armhole curve and get the marker to just mark a curve that is below the original curve that we created, and this is just to accommodate the actual curve of the armhole towards the side seam. Once that is done, go to the top of the sleeve head and measure the length of your sleeve. Okay, so this can be your shoulder to your bicep, your shoulder to your elbow. It depends on where you want your sleeve to end, but I wanted my sleeve to be 8¾ so I just measured my shoulder to my elbow. And then once I did that, I just made straight lines with that line there, and I just connected the sleeve together. So then after that, you're going to measure your elbow divided by 2. Okay, so if you stopped at your wrist, you're going to measure your wrist divided by 2. Do you understand what I'm saying? So yeah, I stopped at my elbow, so I just measured my elbow divided by 2, and then I just connected it to that line there like so. And then as you can see, you have your sleeve already. So once you do that, then you want to go ahead to just cut it out, and then once you cut it out, you should have your sleeve. So this is just a really cool, simple way to get your sleeve using your armhole of your top. And as you can see, we already have it and it's just fitting. So that's just that for this pattern, for the basic sleeve pattern. So to start creating the cow sleeve pattern, you want to fold the basic pattern that you just created into two, and then at the fold there, you're going to start from the top of the sleeve head, and then you're just going to be marking 1.5 inches markings. Okay, so after you mark 1.5 inches marking, then you go to that mark that you just created, and then you mark another 1.5 inches. Do you understand? And then you mark another 1.5 inches. So you want to do this until you have a total of 4 markings. It depends on how, like how much you want your cow sleeves to be full and all of that, but I just want to head with 4 markings. You can go with lower than that or higher than that, but it shouldn't be lower than 2 and it shouldn't be higher than 6. So then after you do that, you just want to get this armhole curve again, or like your French curve or your pattern master, and then you just want to make upward curves towards the sleeve curve like so. So you just want to make upward curves. So just go to all these markings that you created and just make upward curves until you are done with all of them. And then once you do that for all of them, get your tracing wheel and just trace those curves that you created. Okay, so this is so that when we turn it over to the other side of the pattern, we're going to be able to see those curves there and make accurate curves on the other side of the pattern like so. Okay, and then once you do that and you open it up, as you can see, we have the curves on each side of the pattern. So now that you have that, just go ahead to cut out the pattern. Just divide the pattern into these sections that we've already created with the curves. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just cutting it out on the lines that we created, and this is so that I'll be able to spread out the pattern pieces like so to create the full effect. Okay, so once you do that, you want to go ahead to get new fresh pattern paper and just make a straight line all the way from the top to the bottom. So what you're going to be doing is that you're going to get all your pattern pieces, all your sleeve pattern pieces, and then you're going to be aligning it starting from the top. Okay, so as you can see, we have the very first top pattern piece, and we're going to be aligning it with the line that is already on the fresh pattern paper. Okay, so you want to align these with 2 inches distance between each of them. Okay, so it can be more, as I said before, but ensure that you use sellotape to just tape those pieces down so that they don't start moving around. And then once you do that, then mark the silhouette of the sleeve. So as you can see, because I was marking around it, I just decided to just mark the seam allowance as well. So as you can see, I used my hack on how I get my seam allowance for curves, and then I also added my seam allowance for the hem. I added the seam allowance for the sides of the sleeve as well. And then yes, so once I was done with that, I just did that for the top of the sleeve as well, and then I went ahead to cut out my pattern. Okay, so you just want to cut it out on the seam allowance line, on the seam allowance curves. And once you're done with that, it is time for the final step, which is the splash and spread. So you just want to cut the pattern all the way from the top, but you're not going to cut it all the way through. Okay, so you're going to leave extra space at the bottom so that the pattern doesn't turn into the two different patterns. So then after you do that, get fresh pattern paper, and then we're just going to be laying it on top of that fresh pattern paper like so. And then once you lay it on top, you want to spread it out a little bit. You want to spread it out by 6 inches. You want to ensure that you spread it out by 6 inches. And then once you spread it out by 6 inches, you just want to make sure that it's 6 inches, and then you want to get your sellotape to just tape it down so that it lays flat and it lays where it's meant to lay, and it doesn't, you know, move around and all of that. And once that is done, you just want to create the curve at the top of the sleeve head again, like so. Create another curve at the top of the sleeve head, and then once you do that, you're just going to cut it out, and that is literally it. Just cut it out from the top, and then you also want to cut it out from the bottom as well. And you guys, that is literally it for this pattern. So as you can see at the back, it was having, you know, excess pattern paper, so I just went ahead to just cut out the pattern paper, and then I used sellotape to secure the ends, and I added my grain line, I added my labels, and I was literally done with this pattern. So once that is done, it is to cut it out on the fabric. So you want to place your pattern on your fabric following the grain line, just trace it out and then cut it out. And then you also want to ensure that you transfer the notches to the fabric as well. So you want to transfer notches of where you spread out as well as where the pieces of the original sleeve are. And that is that for that. So for this style of cowl sleeve, I went ahead to work with the gathering stitch, and for the gathering stitch, you just want to make the gathering stitch all around the sleeve like so. But before you do that, you want to align the notches that you created so that you'll be able to get the middle of the sleeve head. Okay, so you just want to align the notches together like so, and then you're going to get your scissors to snip the middle crease. And we need that middle notch because that is what is going to enable us to fit the sleeve into the armhole properly later on. So once that is done, you want to get to your sewing machine and sew the gathering stitch, which is the longest stitch setting on your sewing machine. But you want to start at where the notches start because you don't want the gathering to extend to the complete end of the armhole. So what you want to do is you want to start from that point into the other end of the notches, and then once you do that, then you're just going to gather it and gather it and gather it, and ensure that as you're gathering, it is the exact same measurement of the armhole that you are working with. Okay, so then after you do that, then it's time for you to just sew the sleeve together at the sides. And then once you sew it at the sides, you already have the sleeve ready to be joined to the armhole. So once you have that, then you're just going to take the sleeve and then just put it into the armhole with the right sides facing each other. And then once it's done like that, then you're just going to get, you know, the side seam of the armhole, and then you're just going to pin it down with the side seam of the sleeve. And then for the other side of the sleeve, which is the middle of the sleeve head that we notched, you just want to pin that one down to the shoulder seam like so. Once that is done, the next step for you to do is to just sew all around that part, joining both the sleeve and the armhole together. And you want to ensure that you take your time doing this because it's two curves together. And then you guys, once you are done, that is literally it for this sleeve, and then this is what it's going to look like. So of course it's giving, it's cute, I like it, and I really do like the vibe. As you can see with it on, it's just really cool. So it can either be worn like with it being very like 3/4, or you can just like raise it up a bit so that it is more puffy and all of that, or you can even like raise it up to it standing just to get a different vibe. So yeah, that is just that for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really do hope that you learned something new, and I hope that you would try to recreate yours as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.